It's time once again for That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ, where business becomes show business. Jamie is a leading Tampa Bay real estate agent and featured on the Wall Street Journal's list of top 100 real estate agents in the nation. Jamie invites you to list your home with him today and learn more at tampabayradio.com. Now, live in studio and promoting the entrepreneurial spirit that drives the American economy, your host, Jamie Maloney.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. And I am back in studio after a trip to Puerto Rico there. So I want to thank all the listeners who tuned in to the guest host, Julianne Nichols, on Friday, and Dr. Ron Eccles yesterday, filling in on short notice. He has a show down in Sarasota that he does, and stepped in there with about a 24-hour notice and got in the seat there and knocked it out of the park. So thank you to him and all the and also Julianne for filling in. Had a good trip down there. Josh, did they hold it down pretty good while you were here too?
I'll say Julianne always does well, but the doc, I got to say, I was pretty impressed with that guy, man.
Yeah, I got some feedback from him that they really enjoyed him. He might knock me out of a job, I heard. So, but nonetheless,
he's got such a good radio voice, man.
Yeah, and he's also a sponsor of the Tampa Bay Business Owners, and I knew he'd be a good guest host on short notice. But Julianne was going to fill in on Monday, but she was not able to. And down in Puerto Rico, had a find a host really quickly, and I didn't have very good signal down there. Signal was kind of in and out down there, and obviously Puerto Rico mountains, and of course outside of the country, but made it work. A little bit behind and everything, but getting back on track and everything.
I gotta say that he was fun to work with. Like he you know how usually I make myself kind of the dummy of the room or whatever, and well, he was doing it.
Yeah,
he was like, "Dude, you're using too many big words," and I'm like, "You too? Yeah. Oh man, we're buddies all together." We
were down there filming one of the podcasters for the movie The Messengers that Chris has commissioned, and we'll talk more about that in the 8 o'clock hour, but it was a good time. We had one of those Airbnb rentals. There's like 11 of us, a couple rental cars, and had the film crew, and then the people that were helping participate in the film, and it was a lot of fun. Went to El Yunque, the rainforest, and we went into Old San Juan, which if you've ever never been to Old San Juan, it's something to see. The streets are so small, and their cars are all parked along the side of the street, and there's just barely enough room to get by any of the cars, and all the cars on the streets are all banged up because there's just not enough room for them. So like every other car has got front end damage, back end damage, scratches.
I hate to be an insurance agent over there.
Well, I mean, we came to the conclusion, unless you're in a major accident, the typical fender bender,
Nobody cares.
you can't, and there's no room for emergency vehicles or cops to get around. So completely different culture, and good fun. We'll talk about that in the 8 o'clock hour. Chris Krimitsos expected to be in studio today if he gets after the trip, but again, a lot of fun.
Ninja returns, huh?
Yeah, and people are going to learn more about that over at themessengersdoc.com. He's got a trailer up for that, and he's also released the crowdfunding campaign. So for people that support independent films, definitely take a look at that one. He's put a lot of work and a lot of effort into it, and we'll talk more about the person that we went down there and interviewed. But the guy down there, host of Entrepreneur on Fire, does a similar format to what I do, except strictly on podcasting, and he does it from the comfort of his home. The guy in the last 2 years has made $9 million on his podcast. $9 million.
Yeah, he has a super nice studio. I've seen a picture online of you sitting in his chair there.
Yeah, he's got it down to a perfect business model. He makes money in several different profit centers, but it's all from a podcast, and he just interviews entrepreneurs. And if you listen to any of his shows, he asks the same 10 or 12 questions to the guests. There's no depth to his interview. It's very, very tight and pre-planned, whereas my interviews kind of go off key and kind of get into the person a little bit more. And of course, my show is also for a local audience. His is for a national
general conversation versus
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit too. Because I was talking about I don't see that type of activity on iTunes, and he's like, well, it's because you're not editing your show. You're putting it up there, and it's a Tampa-based show. You talk about Tampa. You talk about your station. He's like, for iTunes, it's an international audience, and so if you start regionalizing it, you're going to lose listeners. And so it was a good interview, and I learned a lot from him, and we'll talk more about that in the 8 o'clock hour. Let's go ahead and bring on my first guest, though, for the 7 o'clock segment. I got Dr. Mary Key. She's an executive coach, president, author, and speaker, and founder of Key Associates, Inc., where you can learn more at keyassociatesinc.com. And she's also author of the book CEO Road Rules, Right Focus, Right People, Right Execution. So, Dr. Mary Key, welcome to the program today.
Hey, thank you. Good morning.
So, tell us a little bit, first off, about this new book that you've released, CEO Road Rules.
Well, actually, the book has been out for a little while. The genesis of it, though, is that I've worked with entrepreneurial CEOs for about 15 years, I helped Inc. magazine set up CEO roundtables around the country, and in that work was very anxious to discover what separated great CEOs from their not-so-successful counterparts. And so the book really evolved from that. We interviewed, myself and my co-author, Dennis Stearns, over 50 CEOs that run entrepreneurial companies across the United States to really find that the best CEOs basically have right focus, right people, and right execution.
So you kind of took the Napoleon Hill path, I take. You went out there and you studied the CEOs to see what they make, see what makes them tick. Am I correct?
Exactly. And Tony Robbins does that too, finding best models. And I think the thing in the years I've worked with CEOs that really is key is that many CEOs get busy, and they have the best intentions. And I find, and I've been running CEO peer groups for many years. Our program with Inc. was called Inc. Eagles. And then through my firm, Key Associates, we offer several CEO roundtables, and we participate in the Grow Florida program, which helps stage 2 entrepreneurs in their work together to really become better at focusing. So CEOs alone have difficulty because they get lost in their business many times. So to have a peer group that helps you stay on track and helps you stay accountable is very important in having the right focus.
So what are some of the common denominators then that you saw across these different CEOs? I know, just in reading general reports, they're all said to be type A dominant personalities. I've even read reports that say that a lot of the major CEOs have a sociopathic personality, the uncaring, unconnecting type of personality. What was the results of your research?
That's interesting that you say that. I think it's like people. They operate at different levels of consciousness, different levels of development. Many of the CEOs that I interviewed, some very, very successful CEOs, get to a point where the making of the money and all of those things are still important, but become secondary when asked what brought the most significance to them as they look back at their successes. Because many of these people had already, bought, sold multiple companies, was things like taking others along the way with me, seeing others develop and grow in what I've done. So, it does blow up the myth a little bit that all entrepreneurs are just in it for themselves. In fact, the most successful ones were the ones that did the bigger things. For example, they talked about, what's our mission, what's our purpose beyond making money. Where do we see ourselves going? And instead of like some entrepreneurial CEOs, they'll say, "Oh, I want to be at 50 million in 2015." Well, that's not a vision that engages everybody unless they're all shareholders in the company. And so these more successful CEOs found a vision that was compelling for the whole team that they worked on together. It could be competitive, to be the best in their space in the Southeast. But it always set a standard, and then they had organizational values that were strong. What are those things that we stand for? One of the people we interviewed, local entrepreneur John West, had a very successful staffing company, for example, and his organizational values fit into the acronym HIRE, and they did staffing, so people could remember them. But he rewarded and recognized his employees based on that. He hired and fired people based on that, and that helped him to be very successful.
Now, would you say that most of the CEOs that you then interviewed and studied did show empathy for others, did show compassion, whereas, like I said, the reports that I've read before show, and I'm talking about like the people that are at the upper level of like major corporations and stuff that show that sociopathic side of the personality. So were you saying the CEOs that you deal with show the empathy, show the compassion for others?
Well, let's make a distinction here, Jamie. The truth is that CEOs use that term and throw it around, but CEOs of large publicly traded companies are a totally different animal than entrepreneurial CEOs. And CEO Road Rules was written based on the interviews and my work over, I've been in business for 25 years, not my firm, but working with other companies, but my own business for 15. And in that experience and working with entrepreneurial CEOs, they have that capacity when they're successful, but there are some also that lack the empathy gene. They can be control freaks. A lot of entrepreneurs, they become successful entrepreneurs because they're OCD in many ways. They want to control things. They want it done a certain way, and they're in the right place at the right time, and they take advantage of it. But that being said, there are many who over time evolve and really want to do the right thing, want to offer that freedom and independence not just to themselves but to others that work with them.
Now, in your book, you say the CEOs share some of their deepest secrets and successes and failures. One of the areas you go into is how their work life affects their personal or their home life. What did you see with the CEOs that you discussed this with?
Well, it's interesting. Some learned the hard way, and that's true with any leader, any executive in life, whether they run their own company or not. Sometimes to become self-aware of any negative habit, like being selfish or not being particularly empathetic or caring, you have to become aware of it yourself. And so many of them learn that through the hard knocks of having a failed marriage, having a failed business, and then they get it.
So most of them are on marriage number 1 or number 2 or number 3 who reach CEO level of a typical entrepreneur business?
I'm sorry, say that once more.
I was going to say, so the typical CEO that you interviewed typically had to go through one failed relationship to get to kind of an understanding of how to interact or, their personal life with their professional life?
See, I don't think one size fits all, but the deepest secrets really are that many times the personal failures and the business failures, losing a key client, are the things that were the wake-up call that helped that person begin to transform in running their business.
Now, your book,
and the resiliency is the common factor. I think one of the key things that separates entrepreneurs from people who work for companies is their resiliency and their ability to inspire. We got to keep going. We got to keep driving. And that's the thing I see that's more prevalent, as opposed to being able to say, well, most entrepreneurs had failed relationships. That's not always the case, but most great entrepreneurs have had failures of whatever kind, business, personal combination. They've hung in there, but then they've looked at themselves and they've said, okay, what do I need to do to take this to the next step? You know what? I can't do this alone. There's a whole we here that helps me make it happen, and the CEOs that are the happiest, and that's the key, that feel they have the most significance in their lives, are the ones that go beyond themselves. I did interview some people who frankly were assholes that made a lot of money that aren't particularly happy in their life.
Hold that point right there. I got to take a break. Sure. Currently talking to Dr. Mary Key. She's the author of CEO Road Rules, Right Focus, Right People, Right Execution. You can learn more about her also at her website, keyassociatesinc.com. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Who doesn't have a smartphone these days? And of course, there's an app for everything. Well, almost everything. That's why the folks at Popcorn Apps started developing mobile applications. They saw people like you with genius ideas, unable to make those thoughts a reality. They develop applications for tens of thousands of dollars less than you'll find anywhere else, and will turn your idea into a reality in a matter of just a few months. Think you're not ready? Think again. They are your one-stop shop for mobile application development. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
At Vein 911, we will help you feel great again. Do you have restless legs, night leg cramps, or ankle swelling? Restless legs, cramping, swelling, and tired heavy legs are often symptoms of hidden vein disease. You do not have to have visible bulging veins to have the symptoms of vein disease. The vein care specialists at Vein 911 are uniquely qualified to evaluate and treat your veins. Are you unhappy with your previous vein treatment? Vein 911 succeeds where others fail. Call Vein 911 today at 855-VEIN-911. That's 855-834 911-6911 to book your free consultation. Vane 911. We will help you feel great again.
Are you in need of new flooring or ready to tackle that home remodeling project? Then contact Yeager & Company Incorporated, a family-owned, state-certified general contracting business with over 70 years of experience and the recipient of the Angie's List Super Service Award for the last 8 years in multiple categories. Yeager & Company comes to you with their shop-at-home flooring sales service, and their hardwood flooring refinishing is the very best in the Bay. Kitchen and bath design featuring American-made, well-born cabinets, and all work is done by employees, not subcontractors. Learn more at YeagerFlooring.com.
Savvy business owners utilize technology to connect with customers, communicate among teams, and collaborate with partners. Even with advances in technology, you all know it's not infallible. Where do you turn when your technology starts working against you? Who do you depend on to keep your team productive? Don't wait until your technology fails you. Get ahead of the crisis and contact the professionals at Alpha Computing Solutions so they can show you how to keep your technology running smoothly. Visit them online at www.alphacomputing.com.
What's up, business rock stars? Are you ready to bring out the CEO in you? Join Julianne Nichols, CEO of Focus on You Strategy, every other Friday on That Business Show. She'll be talking with other chief entrepreneurial officers about how they grew their businesses. Remember, you could join the conversation at Focus on You Strategies Focus Fridays Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Focus Fridays. That's facebook.com/groups/Focus Fridays. Be the CEO of you.
If you've been following That Business Show on Facebook and Twitter, you may have noticed the quality of some of our images. That's because one of our sponsors is pro photographer Rick Taseda, a member of the Professional Photographers of America. You can view his extensive work by going to his website at ricktaseda.com or call him for an appointment to chat about your photography needs at 813-641-4757. That's 813-641-4757. Rick Taseda Visuals. Call him for your next event or project. In an age when the good and the better vie for attention, it is the best that stands out. The best of Tampa Bay from Proudly Florida is the love story for the city of Tampa, celebrating success, sharing achievements, a tribute to enterprise and community spirit. Let Proudly Florida showcase your business to your city, your nation, and the world. For more information, email info@proudlyflorida.com and be sure to visit proudlyflorida.com.
From the RP Funding Traffic Network.
Crash on eastbound Gulf Bay at US 19 has been moved off to the right-hand side. Northbound US 19 north of 118th Avenue. Crash there in the right-hand lane. Also one on northbound Missouri at Lakeview. Heavy traffic on westbound I-4 between Plant City and I-75. Crash near Mango Road off to the right-hand side. And southbound I-75 slow south of State Road 52. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson, Utica, Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Compassion International. Almost 1 billion children around the world live in extreme poverty. You can change or even save the life of one of those kids when you become a sponsor with Compassion International. Find out how you can help at compassion.com/radio.
Flood watch in effect for Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties. A 70% rain chance with heavy downpours possible, high 85. Tonight, cloudy with a low 76.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And welcome back to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Talking to Dr. Mary Key, author of the book, CEO Road Rules, Right Focus, Right People, Right Execution. So, Dr. Mary Key, first off, availability of this book. Where can people find this?
You can buy it on Amazon, and it's available on Kindle.
Okay, and who is the book written for? Is it written for other just leaders of organizations? But who else can get some takeaways from this book?
I think anybody can, because it really talks about what separates successful entrepreneurial leaders from their not-so-successful counterparts. And beyond the book, Jamie, I've worked with entrepreneurs for a long time, and, the information there is very practical. It's things that they can employ. It's a great check to see these are some things I'm doing around focus. These are some things I'm doing around selecting and hiring and developing the right talent. And these are some things that I need to keep in mind regarding how I execute. And, people typically fall down in one of those buckets. And when they can have the right execution, that's great, but if they don't have the right focus, they might be executing on something that's not going to take them where they want to go.
Now, you interviewed 50 CEOs, and this is 50 of America's top private CEOs. How many, on average, failures did the CEOs that you interviewed have? Were most of them, boom, right to the top without any obstacles, or did they have a lot of failures along the way?
I think most of them had at least two failures that they don't always label as failures. Hey, I tried this, didn't work, went back to that. And I think that this is another thing that separates successful entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial CEOs, and that is the ability to look at something differently. We recently we do a lot of work with senior level women in a program called the Key Women's Leadership Forum. In fact, Rick, that advertises on your show, recently just did a great job taking pictures of a women's summit that we had. But in that group are many women entrepreneurs, and the thing that we talked about is that in the whole study that came out that we did is the pressure to perform. But that same pressure to perform is something that many of these successful entrepreneurs in my book handled differently. They didn't look at performance with the intensity that some people do. And women, I think, look at it a little bit differently because of how they're raised many times. But looking at performance as a challenge and as something that's novel, as opposed to saying, to yourself, this is the most important business presentation of my life today, and really not handling the pressure well because of what you say to yourself. I think one of the real keys to resiliency is your self-talk and how you look at something challenging like, performance in a business sense. So, again, we looked at successful entrepreneurs and did not interview entrepreneurs that were not successful in their work. All of them had some business failures, but some of them would not have described them as business failures because of how they frame things in their mind.
Interesting. Got about a minute left. Of the 50 CEOs that you interviewed, what was the greatest common denominator in terms of leadership trait or value that you saw amongst them all?
Always wanting to go beyond just their own success and taking other people with them.
Good information. Dr. Mary Key, greatly appreciate you being in or talking to me on the phone here this morning on That Business Show. So good interview, and congratulations on your success and also on the release of this book.
You have a nice day, Jamie. And I was listening to you talking about Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
The El Convento Hotel is one that I stayed at there, and it was just like being in another world. So sounds like you had a great trip.
Yep, second time there, and definitely had a lot of fun. And be sure to look up themessengersdoc.com. It's a good podcasting documentary coming up, so I think you'll get a lot out of it as well. So, Dr. Mary Key, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, and learn more about her over at keyassociatesinc.com. And again, she's the author of the book, CEO Road Rules, Right Focus, Right People, Right Execution, available on Amazon. Coming back from the break, we're going to be talking to returning guest, Armando Santilli. He's the president and CEO of Magnegas. In the meantime, learn more about this program over at TampaBayRadio.com. And please connect with me on all the social media sites, Facebook.com/That Business Show, Twitter under Jamie_Maloney. You've been listening to That Business Show, Jamie Maloney, your business become show business.
I feel guilty that I can't always be there when Mom feels stuck at home. She was always there for us. But now she can't get out, and I'm not always available to take her places. Someone else needs to help her get around. Then I learned about Home Instead. Now Mom can do what she enjoys because her personal caregiver is there, and I can just be a daughter again.
Are you struggling to care for your loved one? We can help. Home Instead Senior Care. To us, it's personal.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring-type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
From before 52, crash in Pinellas County on eastbound Gulf to Bay, now off to the side. It's near US 19 and also northbound Missouri Avenue, one lane blocked at Lakeview Road. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson Uterick Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Mattress Firm. It's the final days of Mattress Firm's Sleep Happy Summer Sale through Sunday. Get savings of up to $300 store-wide. Sealy Queen sets early $399.99. And through Sunday, get 0% APR financing for 5 years. Only at Mattress Firm.
1250 winds, weather center forecast. Expect another cloudy day and lots of showers once again. We'll see that flood watch in effect for Pasco, Citrus, and Hernando counties, basically north of Tampa Bay waters. Mid-80s for the high, upper 70s for the low. See some sun return tomorrow, 60% chance of rain, mid-upper 80s. Impact Radio, 1250 winds, WHNZ.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And welcome back to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 on Tampa Bay's 1250 Wins WHNZ. Learn more about the program over at TampaBayRadio.com. My guest, Armando Santilli, not on the phone line just yet, so we're going to try to reach him. But in the meantime, we'll talk here a little bit about my trip down to Puerto Rico. So first off, tell me a little bit about the guest yesterday. How did guest do with old Dr. Ron Eccles?
Well, the first guest did pretty well. He was a military, career military, but it went well. The doc handled it well. I was more excited to work with the guy because, when he comes into the studio, he basically takes over the show. He has so much to talk about, and I kind of figured that's how it would be. But he was different. He actually hung back, let the guest speak quite often, and then when one of the funnier parts of the show was when the guest was a PhD, so he's using these huge words, and both of us looked at each other and basically drooled. Like, that's way too much.
Yeah, he's a speaker, and he's teaches a lot of leadership classes and coaches classes, and Make Your Mark is his program, and so he's does a great job filling in, and so we just want to thank him again for that. Actually, got Armando on the phone line now.
Doc did a great job. I can't wait to have that guy back in.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be back in here filling in for me. Nice to take some breaks down there and go down to Puerto Rico, though. It was a nice little trip.
Must be.
Though. Yeah, and I tell you what, that kid who was making that $9 million in that podcast, just incredible, and learned so much from his interview, and it's just, he's got it down to science. He does a 7-day-a-week podcast, and he's got it, monetized. He's got his coaching programs. He's got his books. It's just incredible.
What did you say his name was? John
Lee Dumas. Yeah, Entrepreneur on Fire. And so if it's only available on iTunes, or you can probably go to his website, eofire.com. Yeah. But he told the story
of... We've plugged that website before, haven't we?
Probably talked about it, but he just interviews entrepreneurs from the comfort of his home, and he's living in a $2 million house down in Puerto Rico, and it's like a fortress down there.
You said that he used to live in San Diego, but he moved to Puerto Rico.
Some tax advantages or something that he has available down there. But what's interesting about him too is that he publishes his income reports, and they're verified by a CEO. So it's not just him talking, I made this or I made that.
Yeah.
If you go to eofire.com, he does a daily blog post, and he just released his July reports. He had $150,000 in income. He had like $60-some thousand in expenses for a net profit of whatever that equals. And then he puts his year-over-year return, and he's actually down $51,000 from the year before at the same time. So just incredible.
You said that you learned a lot of like key pointers that he's used to get himself to where he was that you're going to implement. too?
Yeah. And if I'm going to be on, for instance, we talk about podcasting.
Here's the
here.
website for the people watching the stream, by the way.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. And he calls his listeners Fire Nation, and he's like, "Are you ready to ignite? Yeah. Are you ready to ignite?" And so he gets like 2 million downloads a month.
That's crazy.
And all he did was start a podcast.
And he directs his podcast towards the national audience. So
directs it towards the national audience, and that's one of the key distinctions that I learned from it, because I put my podcast up on iTunes, and anybody can go there and listen to it. But when you have a radio show, it's about your relationship with your listeners, and my listenership. My avatar are the Tampa Bay business owners, people in this area. And so when I'm on iTunes talking about Tampa, about the station, about the guests around here, there's no connection with people outside the Tampa Bay area.
Which is really weird, because you figured you were doing the right thing catering to Tampa Bay.
No, it's fine. It's not that I'm doing anything wrong. It's just that if I'm going to be on iTunes, what I need to do is I need to edit my program and put it up there and cut out all the references to Tampa and get down to the meat of the discussions that I have with the guests, the real takeaways from it.
Yeah.
Not all the filler material, things of that nature.
So basically set your sights and goals much higher than you already are.
Yeah, and the nice thing about me is I've got plenty of material. I got plenty of content, and so I can definitely edit down some episodes and start another podcast on iTunes. And so thinking about doing that. Still,
like a sideshow.
Yeah. So, nice. Well, it'd be a separate show from that business show. That business show is a local Tampa Bay-based show for the Tampa Bay business owners. But it's incredible looking at that kid's business model. And I say kid, but he's 36. So he's not really a kid.
Well, he looked like a kid. He had a weird baseball hat on.
Yeah. All right, we got our next guest on the phone line, Armando Santilli, President and CEO of Magnegas. You can learn more about him throughout the discussion over at magnegas.com. So, Mr. Santilli, welcome back to the program today.
Good morning. Thanks very much for having me again.
So, you've been on the program before, but, remind the audience a little bit about what Magnegas is and what you do over there.
Magnegas Corporation is a green tech, green energy company. We're listed on NASDAQ. Our ticker is MNGA, and we provide fuel to 3 different business models. We sell fuel to the New York Fire Department. We sell fuel to General Motors. We're in extended tests with the U.S. Navy, and we have thousands of customers in the Southeast and on the West Coast for the only renewable metal cutting fuel to replace acetylene in the world.
Yeah, I remember discussing this with you in depth, but you have a unique process at Magnegas. And so tell us a little bit about the process and the fuel that you're producing over there.
Sure. The process we use is called submerged plasma arc gasification. Most listeners would be aware of gasification, large gasifiers that are used for solid waste, smoky, dirty, ash. It's not as clean. Our process is smoke-free. There's very little waste, and the fuel we produce is completely unique in the industry.
Now, your location, where are you at? You're up in Pinellas, right?
Yeah, we actually moved into a new headquarters closer to customers and vendors here in Pinellas Park, and it's fantastic. We can run 3 units, 3 shifts a day if we need to, because we're undercover, so the weather, which has been pretty bad, obviously, recently for those in Florida, really in the past would affect our production, but here it has no effect. So
tell me a little bit about the history. Is Magnegas something that you've been with since its start? Did you come in as a president and CEO after the fact? Tell me a little bit about the history and the development.
The history is that Dr. Santilli, who is my father, invented the technology back in around 2007. I joined in 2012, where we went to the big board on NASDAQ, and all we really did was take all of the great R&D that he had done as a ex-MIT and Harvard professor, and we've commercialized it into 3 different business lines.
Now, what was it like? You've been on the board at NASDAQ. Did you go and attend the opening bell, or I guess the day of the launch of the IPO? Tell me a little bit about that experience.
It's really exciting. I had recently moved over from Europe, and the NASDAQ opening bell was just so exciting. There were so many people involved with it, and there was a lot of coverage, and it really got a lot of eyeballs on the stock. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I've talked to a few different CEOs who have been able to experience that type of a credential there, and they say it's unlike any other business experience you can imagine, being up there for the opening bell when your IPO is released for either on the NASDAQ or any of one of the exchanges for that matter. So you specialize in several lines of businesses. Can you just tell us something about each one and why you are in those three lines?
Sure. The first one, which I mentioned mostly, is we replaced acetylene. So acetylene is one of the only fuels you can buy which is inherently unstable, but it was the hottest fuel available. Magnegas replaces that, and that's why we have customers that love us for multiple reasons, either because we cut so fast, or we're safer, or because we're renewable. We're the only renewable fuel on the market. The other two business lines we have, one of them is called sterilization. So instead of gasifying soybean oil, which is what we do now for our industrial gas sector, we flow manure-based liquids through our gasification system. They're momentarily exposed to the 10 to 14, 15,000 degree arc, and that flash, lack of a better word, it flash fries it. It kills all the pathogens, and it leaves much of the nutrients. So what we've done is use nature's best sterilizer, which is heat, to make nature's best fertilizer safe once again. We also reduce other problematic components such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and that has led us to the USDA. We caught their attention, and we applied for a grant, which we're waiting to hear for. And we've done some other testing. But basically, manure is a major problem, particularly for inland waterways, where the runoff creates massive algae blooms and all sorts of other problems. The algae blooms comes from the nutrients. We reduce those nutrients. The other business line is co-combustion, where we take our fuel, which burns super hot, 10,500 degrees, as certified by the city college in New York, and we mix it with other fuels. So the big project we've been working on there is with one of the largest power companies. They've spent $5 billion with the B on carbon capture, and we are mixing our fuel with the smoke or the flue gas from a coal fire, and we're in the process of verifying that we produce much more heat for an incrementally smaller amount of CO2, which is a big deal. And we also reduce pollutants such as SO2, SOx, and NOx, and other pollutants. So that would replace some of the scrubbing technology, which today costs around $700 million, and the average power company needs 4 of those. So there's some big money behind this, and lots of eyeballs on this testing as well.
You've already replaced acetylene with Magnegas. How much of an improvement is Magnegas 2? I'm seeing that it cuts through 2 inches of steel at a rate of 18 inches per minute. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we have. When I started in 2012, what we've done is we've basically focused on independent verification of our claims. So we worked with one of the largest industrial kind of certification labs in the country, and they certified that we're almost 40% faster than acetylene. That's a big deal for heavy users, such as the Navy, such as fire and rescue that need instant cutting to clear collapsed buildings and things like that. And like I said, it's the only renewable fuel in the world, so it ticks a lot of boxes for organizations large and small.
How portable is it? I mean, you said that it's good for clearing out buildings. What about car accidents and stuff like that? Is it ever going to replace things like the jaws of life?
It may. Today, a lot of fire and rescue operations, such as Fire and Rescue 1, that assisted with the 9/11 debris cleanup and all that, they typically carry 5 different methods of cutting. We are working with local fire departments to reduce that down to 1. So all the cutting methods that they would use, they're getting rid of, and they replace it with Magnegas. Whether it's going to replace the jaws of life, I don't know. Some of these car accidents, you've got fuel spilling and other things where hot cutting might not be the best thing to do, but all the other hot cutting methods that they're using, our objective is to replace it.
And is there any risk to cause more fire? I mean, you're using heat to cut through things like steel and stuff like that. I mean, will it combust or spread easier or easy at all?
The fire risk is always a problem in those uncontrolled situations, whether it's an accident or a collapse. But if you take an example of acetylene, and let's say somebody is unfortunately impaled by an iron bar. If you cut with acetylene, you have to cut a good 12 inches, 18 inches away from the individual. So that means that when they're going to the hospital or in the ambulance, they still have got 2 or 3 feet of this iron ball stuck in them. With our fuel, you can cut much closer, 6 inches. So it's much easier to extract the victim. It's much easier to transport the victim, and that means that more lives will be saved.
So not only that it's cleaner and easier to use, it's also safer for humans.
So tell us a little bit. So tell us a little bit how these technologies are being received by the general public and your investors.
Hopefully, positively.
The general public is in the industrial gas sector is very specific. The industrial gas sector is the definition of a perfect commoditized industry. So if I'm competing against you and we're both selling acetylene, the only reason somebody's going to go for me or you is price. So the industry knows that to grow, you have to drop your price, which is, that's why the industrial gas sector doesn't really compete much against each other. Whether it's air gas or super regionals or small distributors, they don't want to compete on price. We are one of the only differentiators. So if I called 100 people and said I have acetylene, they said, so what? If I call 100 people and say I have the only renewable fuel gas in the world, which is safer and more stable than acetylene, you're going to get a much greater hit rate, you're going to have more demos, and you're going to be able to grow your business much faster.
Good information here. Talking to Ermanno Santilli, President and CEO of Magnegas. Mr. Santilli, stay on the phone. I got to take a quick break. We'll wrap up a little bit more on this discussion when we come back from the break. Learn more about this over at magnegas.com. You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Have you ever tried to buy a home for your family only to find out that you don't qualify for a mortgage loan? You thought that after 20 years as a customer of your bank, they would help you when you needed it the most, right? Unfortunately, the banks of today are not the banks of our parents and grandparents, and our relationships with them just don't matter anymore. My name is Frank Cotto, and I'm the president of the Lincoln Lending Group. We all may need a bank, but we also need a Frank, and that's what I'm here to do for you today. Lincoln Lending Group will waive all of your lending fees, which include your mortgage, application fee, your underwriting fee, processing fees, and any bank points. Just call 813-MORTGAGE. You drop the E, and we'll drop the fee.
Teresa Turner is a certified public accountant and the founder of Tax Happens, a boutique-style CPA firm providing small businesses and individuals with hands-on, personalized tax and accounting services. Although we would love to tell you how happy their clients are, we would like you to see for yourself. Tax Happens has 21 Google reviews and a 4.8-star Google rating, 17 Yelp reviews and a 5-star Yelp rating, 38 Facebook reviews and a 4.9-star Facebook rating. What sets Tax Happens apart is number 1, upfront pricing, 2, clear deadlines, 3, personally available year-round, and number 4, a willingness to empower clients to do as much or as little as they desire. Visit taxhappens.com for more information.
Savvy business owners utilize technology to connect with customers, communicate among teams, and collaborate with partners. Even with advances in technology, you all know it's not infallible. Where do you turn when your technology starts working against you? Who do you depend on to keep your team productive? Don't wait until your technology fails you. Get ahead of the crisis and contact the professionals at Alpha Computing Solutions so they can show you how to keep your technology running smoothly. Visit them online at www.alphacomputing.com.
Who doesn't have a smartphone these days? And of course, there's an app for everything. Well, almost everything. That's why the folks at Popcorn Apps started developing mobile applications. They saw people like you with genius ideas, unable to make those thoughts a reality. They develop applications for tens of thousands of dollars less than you'll find anywhere else, and will turn your idea into a reality in a matter of just a few months. Think you're not ready? Think again. They are your one-stop shop for mobile application development. See them at popcornapps.com with a K in popcorn, or call them at 727-415-6705 for your free consultation and pop your kernel of an idea into $1 million business and a world changer starting today.
At Vein 911, we will help you feel great again. Do you have restless legs, night leg cramps, or ankle swelling? Restless legs, cramping, swelling, and tired heavy legs are often symptoms of hidden vein disease. You do not have to have visible bulging veins to have the symptoms of vein disease. The vein care specialists at Vein 911 are uniquely qualified to evaluate and treat your veins. Are you unhappy with your previous vein treatment? Vein 911 succeeds where others fail. Call Vein 911 today at 855-VEIN-911. That's 855-834-6911 to book your free consultation. Vein 911. We will help you feel great again.
Did you know the biggest challenge business leaders face today is creating an engaged and productive workforce culture? Bill Meyer Ham Consulting wants to help you solve this challenge. They will help you transform your workforce culture to produce amazing business results. Call Bill Meyer Ham Consulting at 941-201-4650 today or visit BillMeyerHam.com. That's BillMeyerHam.com. Have a conversation. What's up, business rock stars? Are you ready to bring out the CEO in you? Join Julianne Nichols, CEO of Focus on You Strategy, every other Friday on That Business Show. She'll be talking with other chief entrepreneurial officers about how they grew their businesses. Remember, you could join the conversation at Focus on You Strategies Focus Fridays Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Focus Fridays. That's facebook.com/groups/Focus Fridays. Be the CEO of you.
From the Bright House Networks Traffic Center.
Heavy traffic on northbound 275 in St. Pete from before downtown to 54th Avenue North, right lane blocked here. Also westbound I-4 still jammed between Plant City and Mango. That's due to a crash off to the right-hand side just before 579. Southbound 75 still jammed from before State Road 52 to mile marker 282. One lane blocked here. See traffic problems? Call the injury firm of Abrahamson, Udork, Hillsborough Traffic Tip Line, 866-545-9595.
This report is brought to you by Lead Safe America. More than 1 in 3 American kids has lead in their blood. No level of lead is safe. Lead poisoning causes learning disabilities and behavioral disorders. Has your child been tested? Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org.
Flood watch in effect for Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties. A 70% rain chance with heavy downpours possible, high 85. Tonight, cloudy with a low 76.
You're listening to That Business Show with Jamie Maloney on 1250 Wins WHNZ. Missed a show? Then head over to TampaBayRadio.com, where all shows are available on demand. Once again, here's your host, Jamie Maloney.
And welcome back to That Business Show. Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Talking to Armando Santilli, President and CEO of Magnegas. Learn more about this technology over at Magnegas.com. So, Armando, tell us about some of the partners that you are working with.
Well, since 2012, we've been working with a lot of partners for independent verification of claims. So that has been everything from the premier industrial gas testing companies and industrial testing companies to the power companies. We are actually distributing our gas through many distributors in the United States, and we consider them partners as they are hand in hand in selling our great new product.
Now, is this technology patented?
Yes, we have multiple patents. We have patents on the method, the apparatus, and the applications for the 3 different business lines that we have.
Okay, and so what are some of the challenges then about getting this, into more of the mainstream out there? Why aren't we hearing more about Magnegas, on a national level? Obviously, you are on a national level, but you got these other products that you're competing with. What's holding you back? Are there some environmental issues? Is it just buy into your product? Well, what are some of the challenges that you're facing?
That's a very good question. I think it's just different, really, for each business line. For industrial gas, we have all the independent verification of claims that we need. It's really just a matter of getting to people who have hands on their torches and they're cutting, who may not be exposed to as much as you and I to the internet, and also getting access to physical distribution locations. Because at the end of the day, if you have bottles of Magnegas, you can't ship them from here to Canada or from here to California very easily. So you need to have partners or distributors.
So tell us.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Josh.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask, who else are you selling this product to aside from welders and, plumbers that would use it to fabricate pipes and, metal cutting and stuff like that? Is there another use besides welding that your product is used for? Yeah,
anything that acetylene can do, Magnegas can do. So that's cutting metal, like you said, and I've seen it cut 18 inches of metal. You can also braze with it, so that's the refrigeration, the plumbing guys. welding as well, so pipeline welding and those type of things. We have customers that are massive customers that are involved in waste to energy. We have auto companies that are customers. We've got a lot of fire departments that are customers, and like I said, we have lots of thousands of small customers. Now, the key is the small customers are where there's a little bit more profitability, and you really start to become viral where, one guy with a torch will talk to another at the bar, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, all of Lakeland or all of Miami or all of Michigan is talking about your gas.
So basically, all right, well, I guess what I was getting to is that you've already replaced propane and cutting. Are you going to replace propane and other gases like propane in home use in terms of like maybe feeding stoves or fireplaces?
For a barbecue
like
or
that?
something, yeah.
Yeah, barbecues.
We have considered that. Right now, we are focusing on the high end of the market, which is acetylene and propane, which is used for metal cutting and metal forming. Ultimately, as our costs go down, and we have seen a drop in costs over the past 4 months, which is pretty significant, we do ultimately want to go after the more distributed kind of propane and other uses. But right now, we want to focus where the margin is high and where people are trying to get away from acetylene because they're just frankly scared of it.
Now, Mr. Santilli, it was a good interview today. Many of the listeners probably would like to get some more information.
Super interesting.
Yeah, and they're probably very impressed by what they've heard today as well, with this product. How can they learn more and perhaps get involved in the future and the rise of Magnegas?
Well, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm quite active on Twitter. We also have a presence on LinkedIn. Our website, Magnegas, Magnegas.com, sorry. And then, of course, anything with our ticker symbol on it, which is MNGA.
Yeah.
We are pretty active on social media. We show pictures and videos. One thing I would say to look at is if you go on Google and you Google something called Magnegas stability test, you will see where we actually shoot our bottles with rifles and we show that acetylene explodes into a flame and Magnegas just vents. It's just another fun way to realize how safe Magnegas is compared to acetylene.
Mr. Santilli, I greatly appreciate you checking into this program this morning, and good luck with Magnegas over there.
Thank you very much. Great to be on again.
Thank you. Again, that was Armando Santilli, President and CEO of Magnegas. You can learn more about this over at magnegas.com, and that's spelled M-A-G-N-E, magnegas.com. Also, thank you to Dr. Mary Key, who is on in the 7 o'clock hour. Coming back from the break, it's going to be TBBO Tuesday, so we'll probably hear a little bit from Chris Kermitzos if he got up in time and we just returned back from Puerto Rico. And also, we'll hear from a couple of the members, Kirk Lacey and Joe Feddison. You're listening to That Business Show, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
The preceding was a commercial program paid for by Maloney Productions. The opinions, viewpoints, and promises made during the preceding program are not those of WHNZ AM, its staff, management, or parent company, iHeartMedia Incorporated.
Jamie Maloney